I'm going to do something real quick here. You see those two columns up there? Uh, I ordered them. I ordered them thinking they were different columns, but the other columns I don't like anyway because they're too fat for this particular application. In the original plan, it called for columns. I just couldn't figure out what I was going to do. So these columns are nice, but they're imperfect. And again, if you know God, God is always trying to hit home perfection and how imperfection doesn't matter. So when we do these things, when we come before God, we should realize we don't have to. And God, there is no have tos. We should realize that we're imperfect. And that is very important because what everybody else is doing to rule the other people is to rule their imperfection, as if they're the worst of the worst because they're imperfect. And over time, using that from childhood on up, they cause the other people to become criminals, to sin and fall and all those type of things. And sin is sin. You know, God forgives most sin on this planet based upon the condition of the planet. So what does that speak about? That speaks about the shepherds of the planet being the shepherds of Israel in Ezekiel 34. Now, one thing you should understand, anytime you see the shepherds of Israel being berated by God, then they're not the shepherds of Israel. They're imposters. They took over. Again, Netanyahu and all those nutbags. They're deep state nutbags. They're not Republican. They're not Democrat. They're deep state nutbags. The Republican-Democrat deep state battle is a bullshit battle. It doesn't really exist. Why do I say bullshit? Because that's the word God needs to be said to hit a twang in your mind because you're all programmed to certain words. And they spend all day in CIA, Mossad programming you to certain words, just like they're trying to program you that if you don't stand behind Israel, then you're a Hamas supporter or a terrorist or a bad person. We support the people. We don't support the governments. We support the people. Q clue. So again, they're trying to get you to get behind all their governments and give them power to what are they really going to do? Protect themselves, build up their next summer home, buy another Ferrari, that type of thing. That's what they do with the ups you give them. So there's imperfection there. And they're using the idea of imperfection being a reason to down somebody. It's actually a reason to heal somebody. Again, that's a disability or something that could lead to a disability. They heal their bank accounts, believe me. They traded the real healing of the planet for the healing of their bank accounts. And again, if they'll say, well, we got money, but there would be more money, more technology, more health, more wellness on the planet. And at a certain point, if we go back far enough in time, this planet would not exist, whether you believe it's this many years old or that many years old. What I recommend and why I started this is start burning incense. Again, Rosh Hashanah, they burn the incense. Right. Year round, God released that information to me that it came from the temple burning of incense for a specific reason at that time period, so that I would deliver it. So think about it, speak to people, put the message out there, burn incense with the right heart. Again, if you have the wrong heart, what do you think's happening? You can't harness it. Don't burn incense to Satan and call it good, because that's what's going on in all these religious societies. I've said for years, they're not real, family thing. That's why they go to the synagogue and all that stuff. I didn't realize it was in Isaiah. It may have said it in the King James Version, but I didn't have the Jewish version. I'll have to look at the King James Version what it says, and it didn't mean the same thing. Sometimes King James Version will, the spirits are picking up inside if you hear me going. I have like a 2-track mind. I can speak to you and then listen and speak to the spirits. Or a multi-track. God has a 1,000,000-track mind. He connected me to it a couple of times, just like, hey. But he showed me how mind works and what's actually going on in the thought process in your minds based upon the metaphysics of this planet. So go ahead, let's burn some incense. I put the 2 columns up there. I changed it from the photo earlier. It's some adjustment. So we're working this thing forward so I can finish the ark and just have an ark here. And then I got to build the wall and the platform that the ark's going to sit on. That's inside. That'd be like the temple or something. God just has me do this. God's having fun. So again, as far as a white stone, God says, you're. I knew it right away. God says, you're the white stone. The new temple's people. The third temple is people. So what we're trying to do is rebuild creation, and it has nothing to do with pro-life or anything like that. Yeah, or it does real pro-life, not fake pro-life. Some corporate entity that makes millions of dollars and calls itself church or whatever else it calls itself. Well, this is the reason that people, again, the down thing. They down people, and that's the reason people are born disabled. That's the reason people have babies out of wedlock, or babies when they don't want them, even if it's out of wedlock, that kind of thing. They're spelling it, and then they can try to condemn you for it. That's the reality of that rule for your imperfection. What God does is he interjects himself into the planet, trying to take over the systems you have, so he can get something forward. So it sometimes says things that are kind of whack. And God, I try to explain a few things to God in my lifetime, and I think it worked. And we're moving in the same direction, but in a different direction. In other words, the shepherds of Israel can deceive God because they're in that position. But when God has a man on the planet, such as Ezekiel and Isaiah, they say, "Oh, wait a minute, no, it's not happening that way, God." When in their conversations with God, it comes out that it's happening differently, and that the shepherds are lying. So that is what it is. So again, this is all I can afford, really, and I really couldn't afford to do this. And I'm building it a second time because they destroyed the ark with their psychological operations. Well, if you weren't a criminal, it wouldn't have affected you. You would be in $1 million house right now. Our stuff only affects criminals. I mean, they're nutbags. They're absolute nutbags. If you study Martin Luther at all, which obviously, Rabbi Emden, Maimonides, they studied the Christian side of the house, the Mohammedan side of the house, so they could understand where it was. So it's nothing wrong if you want to study Martin Luther and understand some of what he's saying. Again, there's other rabbis that have said what Martin Luther said, at least in part. So again, these spiritual things are huge. I was a little offended today. I read something about religion is for something, and being religious is and I understand that we're spiritual, not religious, but some people, right. So it was a Native American. So the problem with Native Americans is they consider Judaism, Christianity false, some of them. So again, where are you coming from? Are you saying only Native Americans are spiritual? What's happening is the people leading Israel are not really Israel. They're like Haman, and they're treating the Palestinians like Haman would treat them. So again, you can't do that. And a lot of rabbis know that. A lot of Jewish people know that. But they're not going to say anything because they don't want a life like mine. Years ago, we had organizations backing the Palestinians, rabbis, Orthodox rabbis. And now they shy away because their lives were ruined. Some people committed suicide. Some people were killed. Some people were sexualized. So again, the rabbis know what I'm talking about when I'm speaking about. The Jewish people, a lot of them know what I'm speaking about. They're in bondage. That one guy is in hiding, and he's speaking out that I posted on my Twitter page. That's real. They're Nazis. It's something Satan does. Satan tries to make them not, make like Israel Nazi by manipulating who the victim is. So they're standing there. The government is, well, we're Israel. We can't be Nazis. No, you're Nazis, and you caused that. Again, the Reichstag fire, they believe, was a construct, and that's possibly where we are. I'm not condoning what Hamas did, but what Hamas did was psychologically operated into Palestine. And that would be something like the Reichstag fire, a setup. A major technical one. And again, it's like what I said about 9/11. I think people in government wanted something to happen so they could rule with a heavy hand. Again, Ezekiel 34. I'm going to check my power here and make sure it's up. I'm losing power. I think I got like 6%. I got a battery hooked in, but it's not charging right, I guess. It's a high level charge. So I'm going to have to, I know and if you heard the background there, my Bluetooth speaker, my patio speaker, just power. It tells you when it powers off. Power off. I'm like, wait a minute. So I knew to look. So God's getting through a little bit. But it's like I tell you, I use it's sin for a season, and that's really what it is. And again, there are sins that are personal sins that are not big deals. God forgives those by the gazillions. But there's sins of anti-power that they call sins of power, but it's really anti-power, and it's causing a disruption. So again, if the planet creates a world where you're gay, then you're gay, and God's going to not look at you. It's hard for a gay person to understand that God's going to punish the person that made them gay or the people. Because behind what we wrestle against, again, if you go to the New Testament, the rabbi said what we wrestle against is not flesh and blood, but these powers and all of that, principalities, rulers of the darkness, that kind of thing. So God doesn't have anything against you because you're just a victim of Ezekiel 34. So, in other words, I don't even get. It was funny this morning. They go, okay, you don't get to be as angels and spirits, and I guess there's some people on earth here. Okay, the white stone thing. Okay, God told me yesterday you're the white stone. The new temple is creation, the third temple, and it's being rebuilt by God. Or we're trying to. The planet's killing it. So when I woke up, God was saying, okay, this is how the planet actually runs. And of course, over time, I'm Raziel, and that's where I just it comes from God. There's no way I could figure this. No way Raziel can figure it out. So this is how the planet's running right now. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase people's psychic ability, which is spiritual ability. What else? The awakening, that kind of thing. And what we're going to do, and again, awoke. You could be awakened if you're awakened, but if you're awakened, it doesn't mean you're awakened. But I'm not telling you like the conservative Christian is awakened. They're devils, most of those, trying to cause you to do something wrong. They'll call it politics. They'll call it, God's doing it, not us, while they run around you and destroy your lives, your liberties, and your happinesses. And then Satan pays them, and Satan is in their organization and pays them for evil work, and they call it good. So we're going to wake everybody up, and they were going to have the clairvoyance, all this funny stuff you see me do. And there's more to it than that. I used to advise government a lot more than I do now because the government would not protect me in that advisement. So it's their problem, not mine. And in fact, they're part of what caused that protection to fail. So again, the gift of governments, all those gifts. The New Testament rabbis are giving you information that Jews lost, some of it. Rabbi Jesus was a Kabbalist. All of supporting documents and scriptures of the other religions, and those religions say that we are all one with God. So, Jesus laughs when I say that. Because he was in the moment, Jesus in the moment. He was in a human body. He's in the moment. He overturned the temple. He wasn't supposed to do that, but that's a gauge. So here you have a son of God, and son of God is a Kabbalistic term, Ben Elohim. So here you have this Ben Elohim on the planet. And again, I'm Ben Elohim also. So he's on a planet, and he can't not sin. So God goes, okay, something's wrong on the planet. I sent my Ben Elohim. These other guys are saying they're righteous and all this, and you have to understand the people that killed Jesus killed Rabbi Akiva. May have been a lineage, but it's the same group, the Likud party or whatever it is, along with the Romans, whoever other government they're with, the Russians or whatever. Same thing's happening here. So it's very interesting. It would be very interesting for rabbis to study Rabbi Jesus and Rabbi Paul. Anytime he says he's with God, I don't know what that one Bible version does, because he's not God. He said, they said you're good. He says I'm not good. There's only one good, and that's God. So what does that tell you? And I get when he says God, into my mind they say God, and that is God in heaven, and God is in heaven, something like that. So again, I'm getting awakened information with it. So Jesus in heaven may have been a nicer guy. He didn't overturn the temples and things like that's coming in your synagogue and taking your altar and going, bah, you're evil. You would obviously arrest Rabbi Jesus. So again, times do change. And when I woke up, I tried to tell people if they tell you to do stuff like overturn the temple, don't do it. Right? That was another movement that got blocked, and that would help maybe people understand once they were more aware and they could see again. You know, I don't see it as much right now, but God will smile from the menorah. It's a way of God that God can sneak the communication. They'll probably will it away so people can't see it, and Earth might do it, but there it is. So if you look at a menorah, especially the one that they say you can't make from the other, what the Shabbat. So they say you can't. Oh, I see what you're saying. No, okay, this is how it works for me. I'm not even beginning to be judged. If people say, "Well, you don't have a head covering," you say you're a Jew. Well, I wear a head covering when I can. When God tells me not to wear it, I don't wear it. I'm not judged for it. And there's an angel over my head covering my head right now because I don't have a head covering on. Because they willed the head covering off of my head. And if I put the head covering off my head, I would probably get naked at the wrong time. If I did it enough, I'd get naked and run down the street because somebody would get a LSD into me or something like that. That's real. So again, Rabbi Jesus came and told you some things about relaxing the laws or the rules or whatever you consider that. That's because Jews with money, Jews with power, and their criminal cronies in government, outside government, as well as foreign governments and criminal enterprise, and ancient Israel willed people not to be able to meet the requirements. So again, it's in your account. If you don't see me with a head covering and you're cursing me, then put it on yourselves because it's in your account and you'll pay for it in hell.